Welcome to another episode of the Find Your Voice podcast. My name is Freya Casey. I'm a professional singer and vocal coach, but I'm also passionate about finding the dream life and just creating whatever I desire. I haven't been on here for a while, and I will tell you why. But today I really want to talk about how affirmations and visualizations, some people may think it's woo-woo, it's bogus, like why? It's absolutely not. And I have proof. So number one, there are actually scientific studies that when you visualize, when you imagine something, for your brain, it's almost as if you were actually, if it were reality. Your RAS, your reticular activating system, is something that filters everything because we have, we see a lot, we hear a lot, we smell and taste. All those senses pick up a lot of information 24/7 pretty much. Well, except for when you're asleep maybe, then it's more subconscious. But we have to filter out all this information to decide what is relevant to me. And that's where your reticular activating system comes in. Otherwise, you would be overwhelmed by information. You would have complete overload, and you do have to give some things more importance and other things you can dismiss completely. Like, I don't know, there's probably a lot going on right around me right now that I'm not even noticing. Oh, I do know that the dryer is going in the room right beside this one. But because I'm concentrating and focusing on talking to the camera right now, talking into the microphone, I'm not actually focusing on it unless I think about it. So my reticular activating system helps me filter out that information that is hitting my brain. Not only that, also I have some proof. I have started formally visualizing. That isn't anything I have done all my life, but everyone has done this to where you imagined something you wished for. Everyone has done it. As a child, maybe we wish for something that we get for Christmas. And then it either does or does not happen. But everyone has visualized. You literally imagine what it's like. You see it like a movie playing in front of you. You see the image of whatever it is that you desire. We all do this. I mean, you could imagine right now a person. When you think about the person, you can literally see their face, except they're not here. But your brain can fill in all the gaps. That visual image is just created just by your brain. So your eyes don't see it, but it's your brain. Your brain is what interprets everything. I want to say I started getting into the realm of reading a lot of books about mindset, about business, about self-development, probably around 10 years ago, maybe 9 to 10 years ago. It was that point, and I talked about that before. It was that moment when I found myself overwhelmed by all the bills because I had no help with my daughter. I was basically found myself having to take care of everything. As a freelancing artist and vocal coach, you can't exactly have your baby right beside you, and take it everywhere, especially late at night. So I had to work a lot less because there was no one reliable helping me out to be reliably there to watch my daughter when I had to work. So I had just worked a lot less, which also meant I made a lot less money. And I found myself in the situation where I was completely overwhelmed by bills and I didn't know how to pay them anymore. And I was dreading to go to the mailbox because I knew there were going to be more bills that I can't pay. When I found myself in that situation, I made a decision. I decided I'm never going to be dependent on anyone else. I'm going to make sure that I'm the one that I'm just relying on myself. That doesn't mean I'm not allowing help, but I'm not going to rely on any help from the outside. I'm just going to rely on myself because that's the only thing I can control. Then I started reading listening to a lot of audiobooks about self-development and stuff, and then, mindset. And then, of course, you eventually come across this concept of creating a vision board and visualizations and affirmations and meditation actually too. So I started doing affirmations and I started creating a vision board, and I want to share with you some of the things I put on my vision board. And I actually had an app named ThinkUp. Now that app I didn't use when I started out doing all these visualizations, but I started using that app maybe 5 years ago, I think. So I had all these things on there. You can record your own words, your own voice with affirmations as if it were already true. And let me tell you what some of them were. Visualization or affirmation. Number 1. I'm the mother of 3 beautiful children. Back then I was the mother of 1 child and I had this big desire to have more children. And I had I'd started looking into adoption. I started looking into all kinds of crazy stuff. There are so many paths you can actually take that I wasn't aware of before. But also looking into becoming a foster parent. I took the course for becoming a foster parent and then became actually I got that certification. We almost had a placement twice. The first time it didn't work out because of the birth mother. They found a different arrangement of working with her, which I'm really happy about. And the second time, I already had given birth to my twins. I hadn't told the social workers yet, which, they were only just a few months old. I'm like, there's no way I can take in a foster child right now. And then just maybe last year, I dug out that app and I started it up again and I listened to that affirmation. And it's like, wow. Back then I had this really huge desire and then I had twins. So now I have 3 children. That totally came true. And I listened to that affirmation every single day. Another one was, I believe it was, I will have 100,000 subscribers on YouTube on my main channel. Fast forward to today, I have close to 280,000. Pretty much like next week, it'll be 280,000. So this has happened. Also, there was another affirmation because I had this station wagon it was great, but for years, I always wanted a van. But it wasn't quite in the cards to buy a new car. I always wished for like a new van, a Ford Galaxy. I know, what a dream car. But for me, it was always about family, right? Well, that came true. The doors opened to where I could buy a brand new Ford Galaxy because at the point of time when I bought it, it was when the German government decided diesel vehicles are horrible. And before that, they had actually promoted them. So my station wagon was still a diesel. And they gave you money to get rid of your old diesel to buy a new car. But let's rewind to when I was a child. I visualized something very specific, which it's crazy, but it came true like 20 years later. When I went with my mother, she played at the opera house. She played in the orchestra pit. And I was completely enamored by that music and the singers and the costumes and like on stage and I was backstage with her too. That whole world of theater was like so magic for me. And I thought it was amazing. I had this dream of being the person who also works there, who is like a singer on stage. So I would come home and secretly pretend I'm this opera singer, which I could actually sing quite well, but I was terrified to let anyone hear it because I thought it was so embarrassing. Because what if I just wasn't so good? And what if they think it's weird what I do? What if they don't think it's perfect? So I hid it from everyone. So no one ever really knew that I could sing. And I could sing like vibrato. I always knew how to do it because I just listened to what I heard, around me, like the opera singers. And I just imitated it. And it's absolutely insane to me. At that time, I didn't know yet that I would myself actually one day, 20 years later, I would find myself on stage singing the lead role in the opera with the costume and with all the stuff, with the orchestra going on. So that is definitely something that also came true. So visualizations, I think the reason why they work, of course, you could believe or not believe, whatever, yeah. But I do believe in attracting. I guess in the world of physics, there's no consensus whether it's particles or frequencies, but we all can agree that everything has a frequency, right? Everything is created and everything has its own frequency. And we can measure this. the brain sends out frequencies, or it creates frequencies. Every thought has a frequency. Every activity of the brain has a frequency. We can actually measure this. Electric currents and frequencies. Electricity has a frequency, right? When you are in a room as a singer, I experience this quite a lot, that if you hit a certain pitch, something vibrates. If you happen to hit the frequency of that, whatever it is, that thing, it will vibrate. Like on my piano, or if I have my old time metronome, when that's on top of the piano, when I hit an A, it usually kind of, it does, it vibrates and it gets on my nerves. I had this lamp in this room too, and it vibrated so much when I played all kinds of pitches because it was like a big thing. It was like, the metal of that lamp, it was like a standing lamp. It vibrated too much. It got on my nerves. I could literally not have it in the room with me when I was doing like piano and voice because it would vibrate. Something was loose there. It just vibrated. And in the car too, like when I hit a certain speed, the car seats, the kids' car seats, like when they are not sitting in them, they will start vibrating and they make a noise like, it just gets on my nerves. But everything has a frequency. So whatever frequency you send out, something might vibrate along with it, right? So I totally believe this. I see this happen all the time. And also, I believe that when you have something on your radar, just by thinking about it all the time, this thing about, like I bought a Ford Galaxy and then all of a sudden I saw all those Ford Galaxies, same color. I was like, everyone has a Ford Galaxy in that color. Really, I think before that, there were just as many Ford Galaxies in that color. But I had that on my radar. It was my RAS told me this is attention for me. Like, pay attention because it's important to you. Also with, when I was pregnant. If you are a woman, if you've ever been pregnant, you will know this. When you're not pregnant yet and you have the desire to be pregnant, you look around you and you see all the pregnant women. It seems like everyone's pregnant. I have to be honest. I haven't really thought about, there are a lot of pregnant women for quite a long time because I'm not in that space where I'm like desperately, like, oh my goodness, I'm not getting pregnant. When am I going to get pregnant? And I'm also not in the space of like, oh, I'm pregnant right now. But when I was pregnant and when I was desiring so much to be pregnant, it's like everyone seemed to be pregnant. Not everyone, but like so many women. It's like, my goodness, they're all pregnant. I want to be pregnant, or I am pregnant. Now look, like she's pregnant. Look, she's also pregnant. Look, another pregnant woman. And it's because we pay attention to those things that are important to us. Don't discount the power of actually, suggesting to your subconscious that something that isn't real yet, that it is actually real. Doing affirmations in the form of, it is the way it is. For example, I said, like, I am the mother of 3 beautiful children. And it is the truth now because it came, that I attracted that. And I have a Ford Galaxy. Even though then I didn't have it, but I told myself it's what I have. And I'm going to make another episode about, I'm not going to get into this now, but oh my goodness, I literally believe that all the knowledge of the world is in you, of the universe is in you, and all the money that exists is yours. It's only a matter of attracting it and for you to materialize it, to, we call it manifest, right? I'm going to talk about this in another episode. And I never thought this kind of stuff was woo-woo. I did think something was like way out there, but now after reading especially the Seth books by Jane Roberts, I have a different view, but I'm going to talk about that more next time. I will also give you an update. Here's the update. I hadn't published an episode for a while because I decided I'm going to focus 100% on my main business. But here's the thing. I didn't really see a difference. It's not like I was so much more productive by not doing anything else. And it's also not that I made a lot more money because I'm not doing anything else. I'll talk more about that in another episode. So I decided this passion project here, Find Your Voice, I'm going to definitely continue and do the updates because it's almost like it gives me energy. It does give me energy. And I would love, I know it's like here on YouTube, if you're watching this on YouTube, not a lot of views. On my podcast, via the podcast, more views or more listens, not tons. But I feel like if it's even a small tribe of people who are like seriously interested in talking about these topics, I want to have a little tribe. I would love to talk to you. Now, on a podcast, you can't really leave the comment, but like on YouTube, you can. So can you do me a favor? If you're listening to the podcast and you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, Find Your Voice, Freya Casey, why don't you also subscribe to the YouTube channel? That way, number one, you can see me. And number two, you can also write comments because I would love to interact more. It's a lot more fun when you can talk to someone about that. I love this with my coach. We always talk about deep stuff that maybe a lot of other people, I don't really have a lot of other people in life that I can talk to these things about. Someone who thinks big, someone who is like very open to things that maybe some people would be like, oh, this is not what people do, or this is not the norm. Like, I don't want to be the norm. I want to do what I want to do, and I want to just create the life I desire, and whatever that takes. And if I want to have more children, that's my desire. I don't care if anyone thinks it's insane or crazy. I do think about things, if it makes sense or not, if it's responsible or not, all the things. But you know what? Ultimately, it doesn't matter if something's responsible or not. And as long as you're not hurting someone else, if it's just you doing something because it is what you desire, there's no harm in it. I don't believe there's like a wrong thing. It's like, no, as long as you're not hurting anyone. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up for today. Have an amazing day. Subscribe if you have not, whether it's the podcast or YouTube, and I will see you in the next one.